So, as an entrepreneur, naturally, things are rarely, if ever, going to go your way. You're always going to run into problems. You're going to create solutions to those problems, and then that solution starts a new problem. What do you do to stay motivated when things might not be going your way, things aren't going right? What keeps you going?
Oh my gosh, I love this question so much. For me, it's really, I've said this to you before, Kurt. You know, you've heard me say it and suggest it 1,001 times, but I have to have a strong why. For me, I really stay grounded and motivated in why am I doing this thing? What motivates me? For me, it's I am committed to delivering the biggest and best opportunity I can for my family and for my kids. I'm really thinking of them, honestly, more than myself, although I do think of myself too, and you should. But for me, it's mainly just having a strong why. Staying motivated is also reflecting on past victories, really just thinking about, okay, where were some of the wins and how can I capitalize on that energy? Sometimes for me, it's just writing and reflecting back on that, making sure that I have some strong grounding points for when the road gets rough, when the crap hits the fan, and you just feel like giving up. Um, for me, solidifying in my brain what quitting looks like and what the result of that is. So, what does that look like? What is the result of that? And what will my life look like if I do?
Yeah, I think those are all great answers because I think a lot of people they start
I think you froze on me, Kurt. I hope you can hear me, but I can't hear you.
problem of things start. Are we back?
Mm, you're kind of back, but not completely for me.
How about now?
Better. Yep, better. It's a little distorted. Do I look okay on your side? I'm clear.
Now you are.
All right.
Okay. So, can you hear me? Clear? Loud
Yes.
and clear?
Hmm.
Great. Grand. Wonderful. Question number 2. A lot of people run into the issue, when things aren't going their way, they start comparing themselves to everyone around them. They start looking around, is everyone else going through the same thing I'm going through? And that's dangerous. That's dangerous because it can really start to unravel from that point. So how do you stop or avoid comparing yourself to someone else?
Really important to if you have ID'd any self-esteem issues in yourself, lose them really quickly, resolve them. Start at a strong ground level of your viewpoint of yourself. The value that you bring to the table, ladies, is like both broken and beautiful. The combination of the two, irreplaceable. And in reality, you can't. Nobody else in the room is going to solve a problem just like you would. Recognizing your value and constantly bringing that to the table, sure, look around, but learn to celebrate other people versus seeing them as the competitor in every scenario, especially when you're not feeling good about yourself. Perhaps, I think that you are your own brand. You're the brand, and you bring the contribution to the table. Listen to others, get the feedback, but be strong enough in your mindset to recognize that nobody can actually copy you. And that's how I feel about it.
Good, good. I like it. So this person asks a really good question. It sounds like the person who asked it is feeling alone in the
Mm.
process of starting their real estate company. And so the question is, do you ever feel alone? And if so, how do you handle that feeling and keep going and can, continue having the motivation that you have if you feel like you're doing it all yourself?
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh, entrepreneurial path. The loneliest road I think I've ever been on. I felt like literally hollow on some days where I just like, I don't even know if a single person could resonate with the depth of it. For me, I'm a person of faith. I spend some time in prayer on certain things, on everything really. So that if that resonates with you, I recommend it. If not, hey, know your people, know, stay close to them. They are going to be able to, and be prepared to allow them to kind of speak into your life, interject some things. But the most important piece, I think, is learning how to talk back to yourself. Look, not everybody's going to be a text away. Not everybody's going to be a phone call away. Okay. Some days you're just literally, it's you and you and you, and you've got to learn and get really good at talking back to yourself. Recognize when your mindset is going in the wrong direction. When you're feeling alone, learn how to talk yourself back up. Preaching back to yourself is literally a skill you have to practice, because you're not always going to get the flowery text, someone telling you how wonderful you are. You're not going to always, when you rise in this, on this path, know that the people around you aren't necessarily going to applaud that. Expect it not to be applauded. Expect more resistance, and be able to talk back to yourself.
And how do you prevent burnout?
Okay, so for me, a lot of it is self-care and recognizing red flags. Okay, I avoid sugar, I move my body, I sleep. I'm on a somewhat of a schedule where I'm doing self-care. I'm prioritizing that, because I know that if I don't put the oxygen mask on, I'm not going to be able to deliver too much to anyone else around me. So kind of keep that as like your groundwork, like the thing that you've got to really work on in yourself. And most of us, frankly, suck at it, because we're out there trying to solve all the things, and forgetting about ourselves. So I think burnout starts to creep in when we've just lost track of our time. We're not paying attention to our own cues. I'd say pretty much, again, goes back to a strong business partner, someone who's unapologetic, willing to speak into your life, to say, hey, stop that, or recognizing patterns of busyness versus productivity. Also important, recognize that the answer no is actually more powerful than yes in most cases.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And the next question I have here from someone that submitted a question is, looks like they're feeling like they're working so hard. They're working all day, long hours. They feel incredibly busy, but there's not much to show for a result. And so they're asking, what is the difference between being busy and being productive?
Good question. I think we can all sometimes fall into these traps. I think busy is more frantic, unorganized, scattered. There's no clear intent. It doesn't have a great deal of purpose in it. And it can also be a blanket statement for like ego issues, like, hey, I'm always busy. Who cares? Somebody who is productive is someone who has focus, is clear, intentional, and recognizes the value of staying in the boundaries of time allotted for a certain behavior, and then measuring the results based on that. It's very results driven. So, the other busyness is just scattered. You look back in your day like, what did I even accomplish? Productive is, I look back on my day and I can see clear markers in my day that actually accomplished something.
Okay. So this person, it looks like they're just getting into real estate. They like it, but they're not quite sure if it's going to be the place for them long term. And so the question is, how did you determine that real estate was the best business to get into?
Great question. I think for me, originally in the infancy stages of things, it was pure interest. It was pure like desire, passion. I just loved real estate. Was involved in other capacities of real estate, from just property management, Airbnb stuff, photography of properties, staging. So for me, it was really just an interest. But what I learned as time went on is your interests kind of wear out after a while. The reality is identifying true factors that make the decisions for you a little bit easier than you might have. So you can get locked into something that you like, and it could be really bad for you. And in this case, it would be dictating the numbers. Kurt will tell you all day long, front, back, and inside out. What are your numbers telling you? What's the market telling you? It's really more about those things than it really is about me deciding if I just like something. A lot of people ask me the question, what should I do? Should I do my passion for a living? No, you shouldn't do your passion for a living. Sometimes that's a hobby. That's something you do on the side, mainly because it might not produce, it might not pay the bills, and it might get you in a whole heck of a lot of trouble if you keep going down that road of passion versus reality.
Got it. Got it. How do you measure whether you're making progress or not?
Again, it goes back to the numbers. We've talked about this 1,000 times, Kurt. You've shared this knowledge with us so many times over. And looking at your break-even point, what do you have to have coming in that also matches what's going out at the very minimum to keep the lights on, right? So really it is numbers. As much as we don't necessarily want it to be, and this is a trap for women, we want it to be the Chip and Joanna Gaines stuff. We want it to be the TV version. That is a trap, and that's going to send you down these rabbit holes that are like endless pursuits of the wrong things. Get back to the basics, understand your numbers, be very clear and diligent about measuring those routinely, weekly, evaluating them. If you suck at it, get someone who's good at it.
Yeah, I agree. It's not what you see on TV, not even remotely close, not even in the same galaxy. This next question here is a pretty common question. I've seen it many times before. This person appears to be very overwhelmed, and there's a lot of chaos going on for them, it looks like. So, and the question is simple. When you're under those circumstances, how do you manage stress?
Yeah, I think it's discipline, Kurt. Bottom line, what are your habits? What is self-sabotage to you? And here's what I mean by that. For me, it's like endless amounts of stress. I know is actually going to be making me less sharp, less ability to make quality decisions, more emotional, more. All the things are coming to the table that aren't necessary. So really, it's getting very clear on knowing who you are, knowing how you function best, know your wheelhouse. Okay, why do I add that in? Well, because it's so easy in this entrepreneurial business that we're in. This case being real estate, to start going in all kinds of directions. You don't have a clear exit strategy. You don't know what software you need. You're bouncing between groups. The stress and the overwhelm and the chaos usually comes because you have not placed strong boundaries on your own behavior. Staying in your lane, being in control of your day, being in control of your conversations as much as you possibly can, and knowing what your outcomes are. So being goal oriented. I think a lot of us are just facing our day with this haphazard approach, Kurt, where we really don't have any clear understanding of what we're trying to accomplish. That can contribute to a lot of stress. And again, there's so many different things we could talk about here that I won't get into all of that, but just, knowing what your personal red flags are. For me, when I wake up in the morning, I'm getting up super early. I don't need anyone to set the alarm clock for me. I already have committed that my day starts early. Why? Because I'm smartest in the morning. I'm most creative in the morning, and I'm less likely to be stressed if I'm blowing off my day and procrastinating. I'm allergic to procrastination, but if that's a challenge for you, get some reins on it quickly, because that's going to actually really be like a huge disaster for your business. Procrastination is one of the biggest things I think that can cause stress.
Okay. This next question comes from someone who is not clear on how to manage the finances with their real estate business. And it looks like they're, aside from having a separate entity for their wholesale business, they're asking how do you manage personal versus business finances? Is there any overlap? How are you managing the business bank account versus your personal bank account?
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to definitely have a separate. I have a personal bank account. I have a separate business account attached to my LLC. That's completely separate. I don't mingle finances. Those are completely separate. I suggest having a CPA that is really in tune to investors, understands the things that you can take advantage of from a tax refund, standpoint, because it's very easy to assume that your personal finances are treated the same as something in your business finances, completely different, and you can capitalize on tons of savings if you do things a certain way. Could get into a ton of conversation on that, but that wouldn't be helpful here. In terms of managing the numbers, is really just accountability, making sure that you're in direct communication with whoever's got a hold of your cash, making sure that you're allocating your funds appropriately, making sure that you're looking at your numbers again on a weekly basis, actually on a daily basis, to make sure that what's coming in is is definitely not less than what's going out. So really keeping a strong balance between the two. As we said earlier, just knowing that break even point. Personal finances, yeah, absolutely, they're related. And here's why: because your business is what's feeding your life. If your business isn't thriving, you're going to suffer in your personal finances, which could tempt you to go into all kinds of debt and all kinds of other risky behaviors that can end up burning you in the end. I'd recommend getting somebody who's a professional, though, if you don't feel comfortable with the business part of it.
Got it. Next question, Tracy, is this is one that resonates with me. I have felt this, continue to feel these types of things on a daily basis. Appears to be fairly normal amongst everyone I've spoken to. But the question is, do you ever gain confidence, then lose it? Something happens, you lose the confidence, and then you start questioning yourself. And then you do something to gain it back. You keep it for a little bit, then you lose the confidence again. Is there anything that can be done, they ask, to maintain the self-confidence and not lose it?
Yeah, 100%. Yes, absolutely experiencing that. Let me give you an example, a quick example. Pivoting my business from something I was immersed in and really became an expert at, really understood it, really knew it, was able to communicate it. You could ask me a question, I'm going to know it. Then I have like someone like Kurt Becker in my life who will come along and disrupt that. And he'll ask hard questions. And then he'll make me realize that I need to be well versed in other things too. Oh, Kurt, I don't know those things. Well, too bad. You have to start knowing them. And then my confidence takes a plummet because I start to analyze that I placed way too much value on knowing something and not enough value in intrinsically what's within me to create the momentum I need for the next thing to accomplish. So I've shifted my focus and attention on something known, which is a safe place and comfort. And we all know that as entrepreneurs, the opposite of entrepreneurship is comfort zone. Okay. And so recognizing where we're placing the value, is it intrinsically within yourself and your ability to face those challenges and those new things that you don't feel so good about? You feel lost. Kurt and I had this conversation yesterday on the phone. I felt lost on some things. And he challenged me to think, build it slowly, immerse yourself in it one thing at a time, focus on it, master it, and then move on. And then in a year, let's talk about how you felt on that day. And I'm going to notice a big change in you. Why? Because I'm focused more on my ability to solve the next thing, and remain confident in that versus focusing on only what I've ever known, because that's fragile and that changes.
Thank you for that response. I think that's very helpful. I think it does kind of illustrate what is required of an entrepreneur and of a small business owner. This person asks a very good question. In my opinion, I think you covered some of it already, but is there anything that you have? Maybe it's a tip, a trick, a step-by-step, guide on how to stay balanced. The question is how to stay balanced when it seems like there's so much to do every day.
Yeah. I'm kind of allergic to the word balance. I don't like the word, and here's why. I tend to, when I approach something, my focus, my effort, my energy, and how much I pour into is 100% in that moment for that thing. Now, if I was trying to balance something, I'd have to split my attention, split my ability, split my focus on several things, perhaps at once or throughout the day or week or whatever. For me, what I'm doing in that moment has to be I'm committed 100%. So balance for me is really trying to, you know, take things that may have lesser value or lesser importance and and equate them to something of higher value and higher importance. So I think it's prioritizing what's most important. Kurt will always challenge me, Tracy, give the call to action each day, two things, just two things. Don't do 10 things. You can't do 10 things. I mean, maybe you can, but it's probably not advisable because the output of that is not going to be quality.
Agreed. 100%. Yeah, I hate balance. In fact, I don't think balance should be a pursuit. When it comes to entrepreneurship, that you don't plan on being balanced. You're not going to be balanced. You need to just accept that. And because of that acceptance, you go to prioritization.
Mm.
And that builds in whatever you need to stay sane and not shoot yourself. Prioritization, key. Because trust me, you expect that you're going to feel burnt. You're going to feel, man, this sucks. I am so tired. I don't know if I can do this for another week. Yes, you're going to feel that. No doubt about it. Accept it. Do you see value that's higher than the pain that you're feeling right now? If you can answer yes to that question, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the right place. Keep pushing on. Prioritize what is the next step that needs to be taken. One foot in front of the other, and that's it. As long as you do that and you're still pointing in the right direction, even if after you get knocked around a little bit, you're going the right way. Keep going. You're going to the promised land. Promised land's right around the corner if you keep going. But don't plan on balance. It's not going to happen. Okay. Next question. Great question again. What are the top 3 skills to be successful in business? So the person, I think they're on the right track as far as where their mind is. Because I think there are some foundational pieces to make any business successful, whether it's a real estate business, a wholesale business, or a snow cone stand on the corner. I think there's some foundational pieces. This person is asking for the top 3 skills to develop.
Skills to develop. I think really, I think you need to be, I mean, I want to argue with the word skill because it's probably the right word, but it's probably not the way I'm thinking about it. I kind of look at it as a lot of it's like your inherent tenacity and your grit and your perseverance. And while those aren't necessarily skills that will help you do the math on a spreadsheet, okay, there's certain things that you're going to have to learn that you might hate. Forcing yourself to like some of the things that you hate, I don't think is wise. I think allocating delegation is huge in leadership. You must learn delegation. Why? I'd say that's almost number one in my book. Here's why: because we talked just a moment ago about burnout and just doing the wrong things, not having the right priorities. So delegation is huge. Understanding your numbers, really getting rock solid with that. I have to admit that wasn't my starting point, Kurt. I wasn't good at that. I'm still needing improvement and learning, but I'm recognizing that that's absolutely critical in understanding business. You have to know what the numbers indicate to you, and in the situation we're in, also what the market dictates. So being aware of the things that are telling you what to do, not just doing the things that you want to do. So just being laser focused on what's more important there. Um, you know, a third thing I think is really just building relationships that are strong and are different than you in terms of skill set and ability, because really trying to do this whole thing by yourself is really not wise. I think you need to have strong people in your life, in your business, that are going to challenge your thinking, um, criticize the hell out of you, rip you apart. These don't sound like things you really want, but in a sense, they're absolutely critical and important for your development. And if you receive them well and you learn from them, it's going to propel you light years into the future in business, in my opinion, than if you tried to stay stuck in your own mindset. Probably wasn't a great answer, but that's what I thought of.
That was a fine answer. Um, this person, for the next question, it appears that they love what they're doing. They feel that they're in the right place, but they're struggling to get things done and get deals done because it appears to them, as they mentioned in their question, that everything has to go perfectly or it doesn't happen. It's kind of like you either hit a home run or strike out. Sounds like this person is going through a little bit of that, and it's because they don't like conflict. That's what the way they framed their question here. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but the theme of the question is, how do you handle conflict in business? They don't feel comfortable having conversations that aren't perfect and where it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and somebody might be angry on the other line, and they feel as if things start to crumble at that point. So how do you handle conflict if you can't avoid it?
For me, it's learning to remove your emotions, first of all, clear those out, because you're not going to make good decisions anyway if you're all uptight and, kind of a hot mess over whatever that confrontation might look like or that conflict might be. Recognize that, being an entrepreneur and being in business, it's a solutions oriented mindset. There are ways to reach a mutual ground that satisfies, in most cases, not all, in most cases, both parties or all three parties, depending on who's involved. If we're talking about sellers, if we're talking about agents, if we happen to be talking on that level in this conversation, I think it's really being clear what your point of view is, what your limits are, what are the red flags to, I call them workflows, to what you will tolerate and what you won't tolerate, what is causing your bottom line to be sacrificed based on the amount of energy you're expending in a given conversation. Let's say that it is a deal, and at the outset, things look really good on paper. I've analyzed it. Sounds great. I think I'm going to pursue this thing. So now I do. And then what I've ended up doing is spending 30 hours trying to convince somebody else to sell me their property. So if I were to institute my red flags, my workflows, I would have to know that within the first hour, okay, things are going to go this way or that way based on what just transpired. If they go this way, I'm moving on. If they go this way, I'm pursuing. Okay. And that also has to account for my bottom line of how much did it cost me to have that conversation? What's the value of my time? What's the value of what how much I'm spending on this. Because if I'm going to make $5,000 and I just spun my wheels for a solid month on this seller, it's not worth it. So recognizing up front what you are, how you value yourself, your time, what your break even point is. Again, it does dictate how much time you'll spend on one particular person and or deal. And when that confrontation and those, awkward conversations come, know what your red flags are and know which way to pivot in those conversations based on the feedback that you're getting. And I would also say, listen to Kurt Becker and learn how to have negotiating skills and sharpen your critical thinking skills. Because while my red flags and my workflows might tell me to do a certain thing, I probably could even do it better if I had better negotiating skills, better critical thinking skills, because I could control that conversation better.
Thank you for that answer and the context. I think it's great. I do just have to add something to this, because this is something that I love. I love the question, and this is a master class in and of itself, just handling conflict. Like, there's a lot behind the curtains when we ask that question. And I think it should be looked at as, when you hear conflict, I don't care what kind of conflict it is, you should start smiling ear to ear. I feel so good and so happy when I get conflict on the other line. Why? Because it's a massive opportunity to fix something. If you want to have a chance at even making a deal happen, making something happen, you should strive for conflict, or strive for the conflict. Because if the other person on the other line is, I don't know, I don't think so. I gotta go. I gotta run. That's what you're going to get. They don't care. But if there's at least some emotion in what they're giving back to you, even if it's conflict, you should start smiling. That is a huge, huge opportunity to fix whatever's going on. Clearly, it has gotten them worked up to the point that you recognize conflict coming from them. And so there's something wrong for them. There's something very wrong that has been eating away and frustrating them for quite a while. Find it. Go get it.
I love that.
You should welcome that. That is a very good sign. Very good sign.
So good.
Now, I have to take some credit for this next question. This is my question. I'm asking you, and I ask pretty much anyone that I've ever worked with or hired. Do you think that being competitive is a trait that you're born with, or is it one that can be taught/learned?
Well,
to be competitive.
I think you can learn it based on the environment. I do think there's a proclivity towards competitiveness in our genetic code. I mean, I just think there are some people that are a little bit more competitive by nature than others, but I think the environment can actually bring you to higher levels that you'd never even imagine. And the one thing that I'd point out is that you're really only competing against yourself. When you look at competitiveness, I think you're competing against yourself, and really it's like, where will it take you? Where do I want to go with this? What am I challenging myself at the core? Yeah, sure. There's other people that are upping that, raising that bar, raising that standard, raising that whatever in that environment. But really you're competing against your own insecurities. You're competing against, your own preoccupations, your own weaknesses, your own excuses. And once the mindset issues are removed, the competitiveness actually becomes fun, because when you're competing in an environment that's challenging you, I mean, it's only going to bring you as far as you compete against yourself will allow it. So I really feel like it can be nurtured. I think you can grow. Now, backing up myself, my family will tell you I'm annoyingly competitive, and that if it gets out of check, if it gets extreme, that's an ego issue. You've got to keep that in check. So I think really just recognizing what's the core reason why you want that competitive nature. Where is it taking you? What's something inside of you that you're competing against that you need to remove so you can get to a higher level?
Fair enough. Next question. What are the fundamental foundations of being an entrepreneur?
Fundamental foundations of being an entrepreneur. Being beat up on a routine basis and coming back for more. That's one. Absolutely coming to the point where you love the beatdown, but in reality, you're sharpening your skills with every time that occurs, so that you're also wise enough to avoid the things that are causing it. So you're being consciously aware of, why did that happen? Why did I get smacked in the face or kicked in the teeth, as Kurt will say? And then identifying what that is, learning from it. So being willing to embrace pain and recognizing the freedom that it actually provides. The worst thing I think we can do is stay stuck in complacency and comfort, because in reality, it's really, pain is the transformative. That's the essential piece that brings us to the next level. Just like I shared with you earlier, had that conversation with Kurt yesterday, and I was ticked off, and that's my nature. I'll get mad and then I'll do something about it. And so I have those conversations with myself and recognizing, that hurt. That hurt my pride. That hurt my ego. Got to get that out of the way, because if I keep that there, I'm going to limit myself. So really just recognizing pain as a gift. It refines you and polishes you in ways that you didn't even know you had it in you. You didn't even know what you were capable of until you embrace that.
So in this one, we get a bonus question. And it kind of ties into what you just wrapped up. Question is, looks like someone just starting out, and they say, if I'm just starting out, what are the 2 things that I must do or must prioritize so that I can guarantee success?
Let's take the word guarantee out of the sentence, because that word, I think you can just throw it right out the window. There's no guarantees in life. There's no guarantees on this path. There's no guarantees in your partnerships, your relationships, your exit strategy. None of those things are guaranteed. The only guarantee you can make is the commitment to yourself. And even that fails from time to time. So we're starting with a strong concept of ourselves, a strong belief in ourselves, a strong belief in what we want. Where we're going is incredibly important to know what that is. But guaranteed success, a bullet point 1, 2 to give you a quick and fast way of getting there, not even close. Not going to happen. I think it's really boils down to, how do you measure success? Do you measure it with this image you have in your mind, or do you break it down into the small pieces that are going to eventually manifest itself into the desired result that you have for yourself?
I like it. Yeah, I think what I would do with that question, if you were asking me, is I would only give you one. I'd only give you one, because number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and any number thereafter stems from this one thing in order to be successful. Whatever that is, we don't have to talk, we don't have to use the word guarantee. But I know when I start anything new, whether it's a new department, a new company, anything new, first step and only step, in my opinion, is burn the ships, burn the bridge. No, there is no plan B. There is no other option for you to fall back on. I'm not a mindset person. I'm not like a mindset performance coach at all. But I do think there is tremendous value in not giving yourself an out. You have to be 100,000% fully committed to whatever it is that you're doing. And are things going to always go on that path? Are they going to go correct every time? Absolutely not. But that doesn't mean you can't get to the same place by taking a detour, taking a different route. You're not going back to the plan B. You're not going back to the safety net. You're not going back to the ships to say, oh, never mind, we can't do it here. You're going to figure it out. That, again, not a mindset coach, but that is the approach to take to be successful as an entrepreneur. If we're going to hit that specific question on the head, what are two things? We'll boil that to, what is one thing I must do to guarantee or come as close to a guarantee of success as possible? That is 100,000% commitment to whatever it is that you're doing.
I love it. I remember one time we had a conversation. This was a while ago, and I had some self-doubt creeping in, and I remember how emphatic you were about that. You're like, that's a mind virus, and if you let that even run itself for a day, it could be so detrimental to what you're doing. So I wholeheartedly endorse like exactly what you're saying about burning that bridge to plan B. There is no plan B. 100% agree.
As soon as you get smacked around a little bit and you realize, oh, this isn't as fun as I thought it was going to be.
No.
Yeah, I got a shower, I got food, I got drinks on the ship. I just got to turn around. You already failed. You already messed up. Blow that thing up as soon as you hit land and figure it out. That is the one thing that should be done to come as close to a guarantee of success as you can get. I would say that you can guarantee that you're going to do everything in your power with 100,000% commitment to figuring it out. You can guarantee that. But success is going to come in. It's going to look different to different people.
I love that. So good.
But don't misperceive me as a mindset coach. I'm not a mindset coach.
He's more of a mindset coach than he lets on, in a way, because his delivery is different.
It's just different perspective.
But it's good. It does help the mindset pretty quickly. Smack that right into place.
Well, thank you for providing those responses. I think those are great. We're going to keep that going. Keep submitting questions to, you can submit those questions in the group, send those to Tracy. You can send those to info@kurtbeckerlaw.com. And we will take those questions, line them up, we'll tee them up, and we'll knock them out of the park for you, just as Tracy did today. We'll see you in the next video. Ciao.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.